Okay.
As you can see, we have Michael Steele with us, former chair of the Republican National Committee, also with us, congressional investigations reporter for the Washington Post. Jackie Elamani is back. I told you, not letting you go.
Would be back.
NBC News justice and intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian.
He's going to be here to help us sort through exactly where the case is now and what yesterday's Supreme Court ruling meant. There's a lot to sort out.
For some big-time context, author and NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss joins us as well.
We brought Michael along for the deep thoughts.
Exactly. So let's get right into the new evidence and video laid out by the House Select Committee investigating January 6th. We learned new details about Trump's premeditated plan to declare victory and got a look at never-before-seen footage of top lawmakers taking shelter during the attack on the Capitol. And there was the dramatic vote to subpoena the former president himself.
This afternoon, I am offering this resolution that the committee direct the chairman to issue a subpoena for relevant documents and testimony under oath from Donald John Trump in connection with the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. If there's no further debate, the question is on agreeing to the resolution. Those in favor will say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed is no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Cheney?
Aye.
Ms. Cheney, aye. Ms. Lofgren?
Aye.
Ms. Lofgren, aye. Mr. Schiff?
Aye.
Mr. Schiff, aye.
All right, even as Trump continued to push the big lie in public, White House insiders told the committee that he would openly admit he lost behind closed doors.
At times, President Trump acknowledged the reality of his loss. Although he publicly claimed that he had won the election, privately he admitted that Joe Biden would take over as president. Here's a few examples of that.
So we're in the Oval and there's a discussion going on. And the president says, I think it could have been Pompeo, but he says words to the effect of, yeah, we lost, we need to let that issue go to the next guy, meaning President Biden.
I remember maybe a week after the election was called, I popped into the Oval just to give the president the headlines and see how he was doing. And he was looking at the TV and he said, "Can you believe I lost to this effing guy?"
Mark raised it with me on the 18th. And so following that conversation, where the motorcade ride driving back to the White House, and I had said, does the president really think that he lost? And he said, a lot of times he'll tell me that he lost, but he wants to keep fighting it. And he thinks that there might be enough to overturn the election, but he pretty much has acknowledged that he's lost.
Donald Trump knew he lost, so he had to come up with another strategy to somehow make it look like he won. The committee showed even before the election took place, Donald Trump planned to declare victory no matter what.
We also interviewed Brad Parscale, President Trump's former campaign manager. He told us he understood that President Trump planned as early as July that he would say he won the election even if he lost. And just a few days before the election, Steve Bannon, a former Trump chief White House strategist and outside advisor to President Trump, spoke to a group of his associates from China and said this.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. When you wake up Wednesday morning, it's going to be a firestorm. Also, if Trump is losing by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier. No, because he's going to sit right there and say they stole it. I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. It's going to be no. He's not going out easy. If Biden's winning, Trump is going to do some crazy.
There it is, Joe. Just saying it out loud. That's Steve Bannon on Halloween, October 31st, 2020. Remember, we heard that from Roger Stone, too, another close Trump ally, in that documentary a few weeks ago that came out, where he said the key is to claim victory no matter what happens. Once you've laid down that marker, you work from there.
Ken, how's that for intent?
That's
kind of... They don't have it in Donald Trump's mouth yet, but that's pretty strong.
Yeah, it really is. And Michael, I remember we made a big point before the election about how the Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania legislators needed to pass laws that others were asking them to pass to make their voting system, no, not like Denmark, like Ron DeSantis's Florida. Because let me tell you, the thing I love about Florida, and I've always loved about Florida elections, you know who won by like 8:30 at night. You look at Miami-Dade, you look at Broward, you look at Palm Beach County, which Republicans call the killing fields. And if Republicans are down by 300,000, they've won. Like I literally knew at like 7:30 on the night of Bush's reelect that he won. And that he won so much in Florida, held down the losses, that he was going to win for the night. But we said, with all this talk of stolen elections, they needed to do what Florida did. Democratic governors wanted them to do it. And if they had passed the legislation, if they had counted the early votes like Florida when the early votes came in most other states, we would have known by 10 o'clock at night that Trump had won Wisconsin, that Trump had won Michigan, that Trump had won Pennsylvania. We also said, just to let everybody know how planned out this was, we said what Bannon said. The early votes, the day of votes, were going to break Trump's way. The votes that broke Biden's way would take a week to count. So Trump could take advantage of the ambiguity.
And that's exactly
what happened.
That's exactly what happened. And
that's what Bannon's saying there.
And that's what Bannon's saying there. And that's what the narrative was, in large measure, is part of a plan or strategy to create the different layers of chaos. So it starts with, the whole attack on the system itself. Early voting or vote by mail, all the things that traditionally Republicans have done. Certainly I did when I was national chair. I mean, how do you think we rack up those votes in 2010? It was getting those ballots in the hands of our senior citizens early. It was allowing them to take advantage of vote by mail and other avenues. But when you chip away at that, the backside narrative is, if there's any ambiguity or any discrepancies, or if it takes too much time, it's because of fraud. And so this was a set-up narrative going back to June, July of 2020. I mean, Trump had already come out and said this. Now we just have the hard evidence that was an inside discussion. The way Bannon is talking about that, it's like they'd already, we've planned this out. And let me tell you, on page 3, this is what we're going to do.
And by the way, Chris Christie said that Donald Trump had told him in like May or June that he was going to basically lose the election, but he started talking about it being rigged because of the mail-in balloting.
The trend line was there because of COVID. And we can't forget the environment, the political environment at the time, at that point in 2020. Going into that summer, the election had already started losing steam for Trump because of the way the administration handled COVID and the way the country was responding to that. He knew, they knew. So their backup has always been, how do you reassert a different narrative and all? Well, it's clearly cheating. It's clearly fraud. It's clearly these other problems. And he's just going to come out and say it regardless of what the results are. And so at this stage, we've now got enough evidence that's out here, that smart reporters like our two friends here have been tracking and trying to get everybody. Can you just read the narrative? Because they're telling you the narrative, Joe. It's not like they're hiding the ball from you. Now the question becomes, after all of this evidence, what is the country prepared to do? I mean, when a political party tells you that we're going to steal the election from you, that we're going to take it from you, and then they're saying in the upcoming election, give us the power back so we can do it again. What are you taking away from all of this evidence that's being presented? You're sitting back, you're waiting for the Justice Department, you're sitting back, you're waiting to see what the state of Georgia is going to do. But the American people have the first crack at this. It's called November 8th.
Right.
It's called when you go to the ballot box this November. You've got the evidence. I don't know what the hell